Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla, and today Schla is bringing ya another episode of Car Rides with Schla, and it's Schla. Today it was kind of silly. As I was getting ready, I forgot completely that I had to put the mic on and everything, so I would feel like I was a little bit late, possibly a little bit late to getting ready, but obviously we're still here and we still got ready quick. I'm not exactly slow when it comes to getting ready, so there is that. Now, after looking at some of the footage that we recorded with the rear camera, I am having to consider some changes. It may, in fact, be a little bit too close to my face for my liking, and we still need to figure out the issue about placement, because it's really hard to tell whether or not the thing has shifted. But I do feel like it's a little bit too close. So in time that may change. Of course, this does not affect y'all, but it affects moi. So keep that in mind. I have some interesting news, I suppose. As you guys know, it has been a very indulgent time for Schla. I have purchased a lot of various things. Some of these things have been worth it. Some of them, there have been aspects that have been worth it and wise, and other aspects that have been silly and wasteful. You've got a whole medley going on. We've got a whole medley. It's been a Schla medley. However, I am truly feeling that it's time to cease. It's time to enter a stage and a time period of reflection. We have pretty much all the equipment that I need. It's been a very exciting, fun, indulgent time. But I'm really, truly feeling it's time to be reflective. And I usually go through these cycles of spending and saving, and I think it's time. I think it's time to start to sit back, reflect on things. I know where I need to be now. I know what I'm trying to do. I have my goal. I have my outlet, Car Rides with Schla. So I'm going to be taking a break from the spending. By late June, so we'll just say starting July, I'm going to delete eBay off of my phone. I'm not going to go on that website anymore. I probably go on eBay every single day. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to take a step back and really think about a lot of the choices I've made. Because things are going to get crazy. But I have a lot of work to do now. I have to be focusing on perfecting my craft, learning my voice, finding my voice. It's not easy. This is far from an easy task. And so I don't think it makes sense to continue to have all this dopamine going firing like crazy. I just don't. It needs to be more meditative. It needs to be more focused. I have to kind of lock in a little bit. Now, the only exception to this is it is possible that during this period, which I guess as of now, it's going to be 2026, and this is kind of the prelude. Obviously, some slack can be cut. I'm still very addicted to purchasing things. So I figure I'm setting the intention out now, And I do have every intention of fulfilling the intention. Don't get me wrong. I have every intention of following through, but really the cutoff is going to be 2026. By 2026, I want to basically spend almost no money on anything that isn't needed. It really needs to be about myself, soulful purchases, healthy purchases, responsible purchases, or no purchases at all is going to be the 2026 mindset. And probably even into 2027, if we're being honest. We'll see how it goes. I'm still kind of figuring this out. But I think it's a good goal for me to have. I know, or I have a feeling that in about a year, I'll have quite a bit of money. And before that happens, I want to have a bit of a responsibility test. Because once my show takes off, once people find this secret mine of gold, I'm going to be rich. I'm going to be famous. And so I want to go through this training period to know how to handle money. Because I've been working, I have a lot of money, I have more money than I've ever had, and I've kind of started slipping into blowing it. Now, it wasn't like that for the first year. Essentially, all of 2024, I was very frugal. I really didn't buy much stuff. I was on it. But 2025's been messy. It's been sloppy, if you will. And I'm just feeling called to take a step back and to look inwards, because this is really the calm before the storm. And I want to make sure I really am attentive and an open slate, ready to focus all my attention towards the craft and not getting distracted with buying silly stuff. Even though I can, that's not really my place right now. I also think it could be a time of isolation, which is kind of difficult for me to come to terms with, but I think that I will make plenty of friends and everything will be all good once I'm trying to think. Somebody just honked at somebody, so it was kind of a little weird. He wasn't the light changed and he wasn't going. I don't remember what I was talking about. Totally lost train of thought. Oops. You know what would be good about car rides with Schla, though? It's going to train me to probably be even better at not losing train of thought, which is super important. It's something that I tend to notice about myself, and I don't know if I'm better at it or worse at it than most people. It's possible I'm better, but I do feel like it's something I struggle with. But as I've said before, I don't know. It's a little bit tricky for me to distinguish whether I struggle with something or whether I'm good at something, because there's a lot of things it turns out I'm actually way better than most people at. And then there's other things that, I thought I was good. I thought I was bad, but then it turns out I'm good. But the moral of the story is that I think doing Car VC, I keep calling it that. Car VCs with Schla. Should I just call the series that at this point? I might. Because Car Rides with Schla got a good ring to it, though. But Car VCs with Schla is a little more unique, and it's kind of more loyal to the original vision and concept. I guess I'll think about that. Because y'all can't stop me. Y'all can't stop me from changing the name. So, you can try. You can try to stop me, but you're not going to stop me. You're not going to stop me. We've done a bit more research into things, so I guess we're going to talk about cars now, because who knows? Who knows why we're going to talk? That's just what we're doing. I did a little more research, and I actually think Land Rover as a brand is even more fitting for me at this point. So we've obviously talked about before how I tend to go with, or I really connect with the brands that are a little bit off of mainstream. Wow, this guy really made it difficult for me to merge, and then he merged over. Yeah, he's just was driving a little bit crazy, a little bit stressful, but what else is new? I always like the brands that are kind of unique, right? I mean, I like BMW, I like Mercedes, like I like those brands, but they're a little bit too standard, too popular. You know, like for me, it's definitely Land Rover. I've always it's always been them. I've always thought about them a lot. I've hated them for periods of time about my reliability thing, but their design, their style, it was always my car. Always. Period. Well, I would say Mini was always my thing, but Land Rover is definitely the vibes, you know, in addition to that. They might be number 2, right? I mean, they're both different sides of my taste in design. One is a little fun, whimsical, jumpy, bouncy, light. The other one is heavy, refined, sturdy. The two sides of Schla. But after doing further research, I have further realized that Land Rover is probably my go-to. So I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I'm a very tactile person. I wasn't going to say tactile because I was going to think of a different word, but I just decided to say tactile anyway because there would have been a pause or something. So I was like, no, I'm just going to say tactile. I like to touch things. I am very, again, the fit and finish of things is so important to me. My iPhone 16 Pro Max in titanium is naked. Yo, speak of the devil! It's been a while since I've seen one of them. It was just a white one, but it was a white brand new Land Rover Range Rover just drive by. You love to see it. I haven't seen one in a bit. They're not selling as much as I'd like them to be. I'd like to see some more on the road. If you're watching and it's time for you to buy a new car, I direct you towards the Land Rover Range Rover. It's very pretty. It's actually super pretty. It's actually super pretty. Where was I? Sorry. Lust, really. I really lust over things. I'm going to go through my 5 senses because ironically it came up. Ironically. So it's definitely touch. Touch is my number 1 scent. I have to have my phones are all naked. I can't put a case on it. It just is disgusting. I don't know how you guys do that, but it just seems like you have something so high-end that feels so good, and then you just slap like a plastic case on it. So texture and fit and finish quality of things is super important to me. I notice tactileness a lot. It's just, I don't know if tactileness is even a word, but I notice it. Buttons, switches, I love buttons and switches when they're good. When they're cheap, it really bothers me. Doors on cars are something I have taken very great note of when I'm getting in a car, getting out of a car. The door handle, how good it feels to use the mechanism, how heavy and sturdy the door feels, etc., etc. These things are all very important to me. The way the steering wheel feels, you guys get the gist. Everything, every surface I touch needs to be high quality. It just has to be. I'm very, very particular about that. I have a very high taste in touch. Next is sight. I obviously lust over design a lot. It's very important for me for things to look good. Cars have to look good. I hate ugly cars. I hate ugly computers. I hate ugly phones. Ugly stuff is not appealing to me. It's just not. I hate ugly. And I'm being real about that because my logical side of my brain always gravitated towards, oh, it doesn't matter how things look and all this stuff. And those were the shadow days. That was shadow. That was shadow Schla. But those days are over. I'm embracing it. I hate ugly stuff. I hate when stuff doesn't look right. Period. Third place is sound. And this one's really tricky. This one's really tricky. Second and third place are very close. They're super close. I feel like sight is probably more important to me. But it's tough. Second and third are very close. So third is sound, which I am also very specific about. I love to mess around with an equalizer, bass boost, treble boost, whatever I'm in the mood for. I'm not really one or the other, although I was more of a bass head in the past, and now I'm more of a treble head. So that has changed, but I also just switch it up. I love to tinker with sound. I love sound, too. I'm very in tune with my senses, while I'm very in tune with those top three. Now, the fourth is definitely food. And I do appreciate good tasting food. I think probably more so than a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't really know good food from bad food. So I would say I have very high taste in food. I can describe taste very well. I think I can taste lots of nuances, etc. But I put taste at fourth because food is not that critical to me. I eat fairly repetitive. I don't really need to have a diverse, super tasty food. I like what I like. I eat what I eat. But I'm not too picky. But I could be, because I do have a very high capacity to distinguish different tastes, etc. So that is an important thing to note. Lastly is scent. I'm not really that into scents. And I don't know. I don't really like overly artificial scents. I think it just doesn't smell good to me. Like if it's fake. I like natural scents that are like naturally good. Let's say somebody's cooking and they're cooking well and it smells good. Yeah, that's great. But I really hate soaps and stuff. Now, a soap that is probably like a really high-end soap, that's kind of a different story. Some soaps are chill or, so I guess I have the strictest for scents. And I don't really notice scents that much. They don't really bother me. Bad scents don't really faze me. Good scents don't really faze me. They do sometimes, but again, compared to the other senses, sense is sense. I know. It's like we're getting somewhere. Compared to the other senses, scents like don't affect me. Smell does not. Like I'm chill with smell. Smell is not really that crazy to me. It just doesn't faze me that much. I'd so much rather smell something bad than have to touch something that feels bad. And I'd probably... Now, that's kind of tricky because I don't... Can you imagine? I was about to say I'd rather taste something bad than look at something ugly. I don't think that's true. Actually, that's actually possible. Yeah, because I don't like things that don't look good. I don't. That is an interesting. I don't really know. That's a tough one. Because tasting gross things is gross, but I feel like compared to a lot of people, I can eat really gross things and like stomach it. So again, that's why I put taste at fourth, because it's just it doesn't really faze me that much. I mean, I love food. I love lots of different food, but I'm not picky about food, and I'm not revolted by bad tasting things. So that's why food is fourth. But I do think all senses, I do have a very good way of distinguishing them. It's probably better than what most people can tell or really ever even notice or think about. Even like the fact that I'm having this conversation, it's probably not something people really think about. I'm just making an assumption. Maybe I'm less special than I think I am, but I'm just being honest. I'm being dead honest. No, I'm being living honest. I don't even like that expression, dead honest. I'm not trying to be dead. I'm alive and honest. I don't know why I brought that up now. Yes, because I was distracted by lust with the car, and I was getting into why I think Land Rover is the perfect car for me. These other cars are technically better cars, at least if you would generally judge them. Most likely, Land Rover does not really perform as well. If you compare the other heavyweights, Lexus, Mercedes, BMW, they all definitely outperform Land Rover. Land Rover is not trying to be a performance heavy car where you can do crazy stuff, turn it crazy. They're pretty fast. Don't get me wrong. They're definitely faster than a standard car, but you're not going to be able to they're not going to like handle that well or necessarily drive super well in the typical race car kind of metrics. But Land Rover is very cozy, very quiet, very refined, which is exactly what I want. I want kind of the most optimized ride possible. And of all the cars, Land Rover is very optimized for very cushy, refined, soft, sturdy driving. Plush, luxurious. You get the picture. Now, in my estimation, BMW is on the sportier end, Mercedes is on the more luxurious end, and I feel like Land Rover could be even more luxurious. Now, this is a key point as a brand. Maybe that isn't the case because the cheaper Land Rovers cut a fair bit of corners, but we're talking about the Range Rover, which is $100,000, and they don't mess around with their Range Rover. Now, again, the cheaper stuff, that's a little more just for style, and you can't really... Some of them are going to have lower quality, but the main thing I want to get to is not even driving style, because I feel like even as I'm saying that, you could make the argument that Mercedes could have a smoother ride, but I have a feeling they don't. I have a feeling they're going to be a little bit more engaged, you know, being a German car and all. I just feel like Mercedes is probably more looking at a bit more of a handling. I mean, right, like I'm saying, I think BMW is the sportiest. They probably want, you know, a smooth ride, but BMW wants to be tight, agile, nimble. Land Rover is not trying to be nimble. They're trying to be comfortable. And I think Mercedes is probably somewhere in between those two, where they are more luxurious, but I don't think they go as far as Land Rover. Now, this being said, you could still debate about it, but the main premise is that Land Rover as a brand, or I guess the Range Rover, because I keep saying that, but again, some of Land Rover's cheaper models have had kind of a little bit spotty. We're talking about the Range Rover. If you have the car not driving, they're probably some of the most luxurious in terms of weight of the doors, fit and finish, very high quality, even compared to Mercedes. They do put a lot of effort into their design and into the materials they use. And I would say it goes toe-to-toe with Mercedes, or it actually exceeds Mercedes. And again, this is not driving. This is if you just look at the hardware, physical hardware of the car. And that's immediately what's most important to me, as I've described. How it looks, how it feels is so paramount to me. And I don't really think there's any other brand that embodies that more so than Land Rover. Land Rover's not reliable. They're a little, again, they're probably not as good of a car in terms of an overall car as a BMW or a Mercedes. But for those specific things, sight and touch, they really check a lot of boxes. They really have an interesting design. It's a little bit different than the standard BMW or Mercedes. It looks interesting. It looks good. It looks special. It looks distinct and different, most of all. And so overall, I absolutely resonate with the brand. Absolutely. And I hope to one day have one. It would be very nice to record in one, I'm sure. It would be quieter, and I could get some better quality recordings. So I know I've said this before, but anybody listening, you guys get together, buy me a blacked out Land Rover Range Rover. I will be very grateful. I can't wait until I see another one on the road. I saw it a couple weeks ago, and I can't stop thinking about it. And I just saw a white one, and that was fine, but it was really that blacked out one that really just captivated and consumed me. And I hope to see it again. I wanted to mention that. Just had a little more of an in-depth reason as to why I like Land Rover more. The physical quality of the car is very hefty, sturdy. And it's very style-oriented. I would say more so than BMW or Mercedes. Because again, BMW and Mercedes put emphasis on style. BMW does more so, I would say, than Mercedes. Mercedes is a little more laid back. BMW definitely is a super stylish brand. But I think BMW also puts a lot of emphasis on the drive, the handling, etc. I'm saying etc. a lot this episode, and it's really starting to bother me. Let me know how it's bothering y'all, because I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of tired of it. Gonna be honest. And I've been saying honest a lot too, so I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of over the honest thing as well. Now, I have noticed my microphone is doing better. Actually, I guess I could have had issues at this point. I have no way of knowing, because I can't really see. And even if it was having issues, unless it completely cuts out, it's kind of hard to tell. Actually, maybe not. Maybe it would spike into the red and I'd be able to tell. But tomorrow we actually should be good, because I got that additional phone holder that I wanted. So tomorrow we should be in business with being able to see how the audio's doing, so that in the event that there is an issue, I will be able to see it and hopefully resolve it fairly quickly. Although, again, I don't know how much it matters now, because I kind of feel like I just adjusted the phone a little bit. I feel like it's been off this whole time, like just a little bit off. I have to kind of get used to dealing with it. It's good I'm getting practice now, though, obviously, because I need time. I keep saying obviously. I feel like I'm getting it from the platforms. That guy always said it, and then now it's. I keep saying it. It's kind of a filler. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think I've done pretty well with the fillers this episode. I don't even remember saying them, but of course, how meaningful is that? Because how many people say, "Oh, I don't even remember saying it," but then it turns out you did say it. So, but I think the angle was a little off. Now it seems like it's kind of staring me down better. I also have to remember to glance at the camera occasionally for better, like, video purposes. It's a little bit more difficult to remember to do that because I don't see it. So when you see yourself and you're looking and you can see that you're looking, that's very, like, it makes more sense versus me just looking at the back of a phone and just crossing my fingers that it's still recording, because that's obviously something I'm concerned about. But overall, I think it's worth it. Now, I did try listening to the audio, and I'm really not sure how much of a difference it is to use the rear-facing camera as opposed to the front-facing. I don't know. I don't know if it uses the bottom microphone. Sorry, when I said that, that didn't really make a lot of sense. The camera, I do think, is different. I do think it's better, particularly with how it handles light, and I'm sure how it handles bumps, because the back, I have never looked into this. This is a lot of guessing. I don't really think the front camera has optical image stabilization, and I thought they put it in the back cameras. I'm pretty sure they still do that. I sound very stupid right now. I don't know why they would have gotten rid of that, but so I'm assuming for bumps it's going to be better. And the mic should be better, but now I'm starting to question that assertion that GPT made that it only uses the front mic. No, but that would no, because there is a rear mic. So I can't imagine that. No, I don't know that its assertion was wrong. I actually want to figure out, too, where the 4 mics are. Because apparently it's a quad mic setup, but I don't see any holes anywhere except for... I don't see, like, an extra hole in the side or something. Like, sometimes on Android phones, I've seen it before, where there's, like, a hole on top, a hole on the bottom, and a hole on the back. And I don't see that on the iPhone, so I don't know where the placement of the mics are, and I'm very curious about that, but I haven't looked into it. So I hope I remember to do that. At least it's recorded. Although, to be honest, I haven't been watching these, so it's kind of silly. Like, remember I said as a benefit, at least I get my thoughts down. Well, I don't know what good that is if I never actually see the thoughts that I get down, right? I mean, how convenient is that? At first, I was going to watch them all because, I mean, they're gold. I don't know. I'm a cool guy to listen to. At least I think so. Like, I've watched some of them myself, but I just don't. I don't know. Maybe someday I will begin to more, as the quality is better now. It was a struggle, though. I remember when I was trying to title things, which I'm being lazy about. I actually don't know if tomorrow morning's episode will have a title, sadly. But getting lazy about titling. Oh, that's what I was saying. Yeah, those first ones were really terrible. I'm very happy I went through the effort to get a microphone. It really makes a world of a difference. And it's not even just the reduction in background noise, which is a pretty big deal. It's also just a massive increase in quality. I'm really thinking about that. Again, that's the one thing I'd want to purchase is a better mic. And I'm leaning towards one that emphasizes background noise reduction over quality. Because there are better quality mics you can get, but then they're not going to be quite as good at cutting out the background noise. And in my experience with dealing with vocals in post, when you're putting effects and stuff on, I feel like it's more crucial to have the reduction in background noise, because then you can do the limiter, which gives it a very compressed, clean radio sound. But when you try to do the limiter where there's background noise, it really amps up the background noise. So that's just kind of my initial expectation and opinion. I haven't ran it by GPT yet, but I have a feeling GPT is going to agree with me that if you're doing raw microphone stuff, because it basically narrowed it down between this thing like this AKG Crown something. It's a complicated model number. It's like CR3 something something or C3 something. And then the Shure Twinplex. And the Shure Twinplex has dual capsules, one for low and high. So it really captures the full range of frequency. And it probably sounds better. It's probably better. But the AKG is specifically tuned for isolating just a voice and cutting out background noise. Although it probably sounds a little worse. Instead of being 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, it's only 50 hertz to 17 kilohertz. Now, that being said, hitting 17 kilohertz is really good. A lot of people can only realistically hear to there anyway. But I do think that is kind of critical. Now, being able to go under 50, I'm not entirely sure how big of a deal that is. And especially for the car VC, I cut that out anyway because you can't have the bass in the car because there's so many low road noise, rumbling, humming of things. So you don't even want the low end anyway in a car. And so, yeah, I do think, though, that AKG one that, again, is tuned more for isolating out the background noise is going to be superior for the car recording. And I'm going to run my theory by GPT, especially because I have zero concern about it only going down to 50 hertz instead of 20 hertz. Doesn't even matter. Easily with these car recordings, I'm cutting it at 75 anyway. There's just no, I mean, even 100, even like 120. I mean, that's getting a little risky, but honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if it's worth it to cut. So the low range isn't really the problem. It's the high range. Like, I'd really like it to go to 18. I think that would make me feel a lot better. But it's only 17, which is still pretty great because you're still getting 16, which is kind of, typically you really only hear to about 16, even if your hearing is 16 to 17. Because I think the range for people's hearing, it worsens, it goes down as you age. I feel like I might be assuming you guys know more than you know, but basically your maximum kilohertz range goes down as you age. So when you're a child, it might be 20, or I don't even know, some people it might be even a little bit above 20. But as you age, it goes down to, it could go down to 16 or even 15 or 14. It depends on how good your hearing is and how good your hearing holds up. But that's kind of the typical for music. It really only needs to go up to 16. Stuff past there, you don't really notice too much. But I wonder if for vocals, I don't know. Stuff past 16 is not super relevant, so that's why the 17 is pretty good. Like, it is pretty good. It's really not bad, but I think I'd feel 10 times more comfortable if it just had 18. I really do. So I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to look into it, because my current mic might only go to like 16 or 15 kilohertz. I have to double check that. And if that's the case, then it kind of begs the question, because this one already sounds great once you put the post effects. Now, I don't really think this mic sounds great raw, but after you put the post effects on it, I think it sounds pretty great. That's just me, though. That's just my opinion about it. But I think this mic's already pretty good. So that's why I really just, I have a feeling, I'm going to scrutinize things more. I haven't really gotten into it, mainly because, again, I said I would estimate it's going to be $1,200 to get a proper interface. Well, I know the mic's $600, and then a proper interface is also like $600. Like, to get like the best of the best interface, which maybe you could make the argument I don't really need, because I'm pretty sure the only advantage to a better interface is lower self-noise, and that really would only happen, or I believe it would only be relevant. Again, all guessing. I'm not an expert. This is just totally guessing. I'm going to run it by GPT. I'm assuming self-noise in an uncontrolled environment when there already is background noise present is just not as big of an issue. Like, I feel like it's just not. I think it's more important, the whole self-noise thing, if you're in a studio. And if you're in a studio, yeah, self-noise is going to be pretty obvious, because you're in a studio, and so it's dead silent. I feel like in a car, I'm not really sure how much self-noise would matter, because you're already in a car, there's already a bunch of background noise going on. I don't know. Just my theory, though. These are all just guesses and theories. I could be being super stupid right now, but it's just about, like, I don't know. I'm just making conversation and having guesses, because it's always nice to have guesses. Now it is that time. It's that time for TLDR with Schla. Today we started off pretty... I'm going to redo that. It is that time for TLDR's with Schla. Today we started off pretty somber and vulnerable. We were really getting into how I'm feeling and how 2026 will be a monastic year for Schla. Then we got into my senses, my 5 senses in order from what's most important to least important. Then we got into a further in-depth reasoning as to why I like Land Rover of the luxury brands. Went into a little depth about that. Don't really remember what we talked about after that. Then we started talking about microphones. I think it's time to call it a day. Bye, Schla. Schla out.